The views expressed in this podcast, Champ and Tramp, belong to the host and guest, not the Champ and Tramp podcast itself. It's intended for entertainment information, so please use discretion. We're not responsible for any outcomes resulting from the content discussed. Woo! We just killed that workout.
That's right, Frankie. Now it's time to get our protein in with Carnivore RTD. 40 grams of protein, 0 fat, 0 sugar, and 0 lactose.
Best part of the day. Cheers, Rod.
Cheers, brother.
Woo! Oh yeah. Fuck yeah. Let's go. Go beef mode.
Real show, here we go. Real show, here we go. You know that it's gotta be that time, so this is what we chant. What keeps on getting them all amped in advance? Come on. You and I rocking out with Iron Man, FE. You get the general's point of view on top of Roger's rants. We're never tapping out, we're putting the most minutes in. You already know what that's about, you know that winners win. Crush whatever's on task, check the podcast. It's the champ and the tramp, let the bomb blast.
All right, guys, we got what's bound to be a controversial, interesting podcast for you today.
Are you coming out, Raj?
Yes.
Coming out?
Yeah, he's got to ruin the promo. He's got to ruin the promo.
Yeah.
We've got two guys that have a story to tell, a definite unique story that most people would never, ever be able to live through. We've got Scott Fairlamb and Tim Hale, two guys that were there on January 6th. And I think everybody's heard both sides of the spectrum, right? Depending on what side you fall on. Today, we've got two gentlemen here that can tell it how it actually happened, that were there in the flesh, know the details, and haven't seen each other since prison, correct?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. You know? Tim and I spent a good amount of time together in that hellhole, the old DC gulag.
C2B.
Yeah, C2B. Yeah, C2B. C2A for a little bit. Did I see you in C2A?
I was never in C2A.
Okay.
I quarantined in a separate area. But,
okay, yeah, so I hit C2B. I was in C2A, then C2B. So there was
And when you guys were in with all the rest of the January Sixers or different people too?
Oh, no, yeah, that was mainly...
There was like a period where they put some chomos in there.
Oh, yeah. So like they tried inserting like dudes that like
rough dudes.
No.
Chomo.
No.
You know what
Little,
chomo
like,
means?
like
Chomo.
kitty.
I said cholo, like
Yeah,
a cholo, like a cholo. Hey, cholo.
No, cholo.
Maybe one of them. No.
Yeah. No, they
What if it was a cholo chomo?
same treatment.
So what's a chomo? Is it kind of
Child molester.
Child molester.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they tried they try and like disguise them.
But why? Like why? Think they want you to beat the shit out of them and get you in trouble or something?
More or less, or
I had two theories. Like one they had narratives about us. They wanted us to, they wanted to catch us doing something,
Right.
violent insurrection. Yeah. And then I think another one is they might have just been rats. Another thing too is like they might have just been what did you call it, protective custody, and they're just like, they won't notice. We'll just stick them in there because we were segregated.
You were away from it.
Correct. One of the major reasons for them shackling and black boxing and escorting, like everywhere I went, even for my cancer treatments, I was shackled, leg irons, the whole nine, right? Even old man Lonnie Kaufman.
Yes,
but,
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, so, but the reason why I think they put him over with us was because they labeled us as PC, protective custody, but they did that because they knew they would be able to keep us shackled anytime we left the unit. You know what I mean? It was one of those. It was just They
just wanted to make your life hell.
Right. But here's the thing. If you're a PC, when I would get out to go down to medical or even leave, to go to Howard University Medical, right, for my leukemia, they would actually I'd be shackled, leg irons, the whole shit, right. But yeah, I'd be in the company of 15 other dudes, and the guards would be like, "Yo, he be trumping," and they were like, "Oh, word," That soon backfired on him. But
yeah, man, he be trumping.
He be trumping, and I'm like, "Fuck, you talking about?"
So for anybody that didn't catch your episode, I'm up to speed. Frankie's up to speed. We're up to speed. People that got the episode, we're up to speed with your story and what brought you there. People aren't familiar with Tim yet, so Tim. I got to know your stepmother a little bit because she ran an organization called, what was it,
Patriot Freedom Project.
Patriot Freedom Project, which obviously tried to help and support people that were political prisoners from January 6th, but also showed a great deal of support for the families of those political prisoners. And I got to know her. She did a charity, well, not a charity event, but did an event here in Toms River. She reached out to me, got to know her. Super great lady, obviously trying to help where she can. But at the time, you were still locked up. Now, when did you get released? When did you get out?
I just got out December.
You got out in December?
Last, yeah. So I just passed my year mark, actually, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Last December.
Yeah.
Okay.
2023.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
before the turn of the year. Yeah. Yeah. So I was in about about 3 years. We were together for about 2 years, I guess, in D.C. I did about a year in federal prison after that. Once I finally went to the Bureau of Prisons, and Trump signed the First Step Act, so that's probably like another year I didn't have to do because of that. So
amen.
Yeah.
Those FSA credits came in clutch, and then I went to a halfway house for literally 2 weeks for no reason, just because my
you had a similar story to that, right?
I didn't get any halfway house.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't get halfway house, home confinement, nothing.
Yes.
A lot of people that should get it don't, but the case managers are scumbags. They don't do anything. They blame the system when it's really them. And I could have had 6 months out of prison a lot sooner, but they decided to wait till the last second to file paperwork.
So if we could just back up to like the beginning, right? I think a lot of people, a part of America thinks you guys went there to cause mayhem and ruckus. And can you bring me back to like how it started? Why you guys went there? What were you there to do? I mean, Scott's explained himself. He went there to support his president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What took you there? Did you have any vision that this would ever come about, like ending up in the Capitol? Or
no. And what's funny is like if you look back, I was at the Stop the Steal rally the month before in December. It's pretty boring. I was expecting pretty much the same thing in January, with the exception that Trump would be speaking. So I went there I was there in a suit and tie. I went out the night before to get new dress shoes from Men's Warehouse. I did an overnight shift as a security officer for the Navy, and I got off my shift. I blasted down, Bang energy drink, blasted metal so I wouldn't fall asleep on the ride there. 4-hour drive from Jersey to D.C., and I thought I was just going to hear a speech and go home.
Right.
I didn't know there was even going to be a protest at the Capitol,
right.
And so I found that out when I got there. And then once you get there, of course, that's when things got bananas. But I mean, Scott will tell you, for the majority of people there, we were chanting you. First thing I did when I got home, because they hide all this crap, I released all the video from my phone that was suppressed, and you see we're just singing God Bless America, we're chanting USA, we're saying Christ is King and all this stuff. And then gradually over time, it's just well, why are the cops shooting flashbangs at people? And that's really where the riot came from. So you said, oh, did you guys go there? We didn't. Antifa did.
The reason I asked that, and that was kind of a loaded question, is because people believe that. People think that you went there to overthrow the government. People believe that. You know what I mean? I mean, we had Ian Smith on. I tell this to Frankie's going to roll his eyes because I say this all the time. But we literally had Ian Smith on a week or two before that. And he was going there to speak. And he said, you guys should come. I said to Frankie, we should go. And he's like, you dumb motherfucker. We don't. Who? I mean, you know what I mean? We would have gone there for the same reasons that you did, to hear a speech. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then how does that kind of walk me through how that ends up from where you're at? Because, I mean, you're literally blocks away, right, where the speech is. You have to walk to the Capitol, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it was literally
how does that
few
happen?
blocks.
Who is directing that? Who is making that push? Is it someone on a mic? Is it
what was
just
his name?
Well,
we'll get to him. That clown.
Yeah.
I think it was more of just the crowd itself. See,
Yeah.
what people fail to understand is that when Trump said that, hey, we're gonna walk down or march down to the Capitol, peacefully protest, have our voices heard. Shit was already kicking off.
Yeah.
It wasn't, by no means did he instigate anything, and I could speak for myself that on the walk down, I was just moving with the flow, with the current. And when I had gotten to the Capitol, to the lawn, it was already kicking off, man.
I mean, it's the same for me. I literally track my walk there, and you can see I stop. I stopped to dance to the YMCA song they got going on there. I stopped in front of the DOJ building, actually, because people were chanting, "Do your jobs, do your..." I think maybe that's why they went at me the way they did. They actually did a little too good. But yeah, man, Trump never said go break into the Capitol building. I want to make that very clear. He said peacefully, patriotically protest. But yeah, like he said, a half hour before people like me showed up, there were barriers that were already knocked down. And there's video, like nobody wants to address it, but there's video now showing like they were tearing down fencing, the fencing that said restricted area. They're rolling the fence up, tossing it to the side. Most of those people aren't identified, but people who wandered into the area, they're the bad guy. They're the insurrectionists, quote unquote. Right. So yeah, there's a lot to the story.
They did recently release something admitting there was 24 or something like that.
26 confidential human sources, but they're only acknowledging like 3 or 4 of them
were on duty. The rest of them just showed up off duty.
Yeah, just happens to have a couple dozen rats who just show up.
Yeah. Be mindful of the fact too that's not including how many actual agents were in the crowd. When those numbers come out, I bet you're going to see over 200.
Will the truth ever come out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always does. You know what it is, though? It's the patience, Frank.
I know, but
it sucks.
Like, you think Trump is going to exonerate everybody?
Exonerate or pardon?
Pardon. Well,
but you don't get your life
you guys
back.
should be exonerated.
You did your time.
No?
You know what I mean? You did your time.
Yeah.
So exonerated means it never happened, right? In other words, kind of takes it off your record altogether?
More or less.
Expunged.
Yeah, expunged, but that's over, you'd have to go in front of a judge if I'm imagine over that over time. My shit, pardon or not, like if I get pardoned, yeah, man, thanks. If I don't, I'm still going to put my boots on the same fucking way, right? My shit is I want the dudes that are in there released.
Yeah.
You know what
There's
I'm
a
saying?
guy, a New York guy.
I'm cool. Yeah. I'm good with my shit. You know what I mean?
Forgive me, I can't think of his name.
Stop kicking the doors in, too. Stop hunting.
There's a guy from New York that has been in prison for 4 years. He was there on January 6th, and he still has not gone to trial. And he just recently had I think he was supposed to go in December, and his lawyers that represented him said, well, he may get a pardon from Trump, and they held his case off because obviously Trump is coming in to office and may pardon him, and but he's already done. He's already done 4 years without a trial.
If I recall, I know who it is.
I'll tell you his name.
And so does he.
Oh, you know him personally?
Well, we were with him. He's also
Jake Long.
Not Long, Lang.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lang. Yes.
Hey.
Long Lang.
Here you go.
Okay. We know. All right.
The bell's about to rock.
Listen.
Combat mode on.
Yeah. There's a lot.
We'll give you silence.
There's a lot you're about to hear.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
The floor is yours, gentlemen.
So, all right. Let me be perfect here. I think he should get out too. I think that, like he said, I think that the first thing, it's been 4 years. This has been a facade. I think the first thing they should do is just let everybody out. I don't think what anybody did on January 6th warrants still being in jail or prison. Having said that,
with the exception of maybe the gentleman that killed Ashley Babbitt, right?
Well, yeah, he was Antifa. That was I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the
cop. Well,
you're
the
right.
kid that was smashing the window.
Yeah. That was Zach Alam.
Zach Alam. He was Antifa.
Yeah, you're talking about Officer Bird. My correction there.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. That guy is he's been intentionally postponing his trial. So I fought for my right to go to trial. It took me 16 months under the Speedy Trial Act. For those that don't know, like under the Constitution,
Sixth Amendment, right?
Yeah, you have a constitutional right to a fair and speedy trial, but that clause in the Constitution that has to be fleshed out by statutory law. So Congress passed the Speedy Trial Act. So in D.C., you're supposed to get a speedy trial within 70 days if you invoke that right. It took me 16 months, but I finally got it. They kept postponing my trial, tolling your speedy trial clock. But if you fight for that, you're going to get it. There's no way he hasn't had a trial in 4 years. Other than the fact that if you actually just look at his case filings, he's been intentionally postponing his trial. He's not being denied a trial. And it's messed up because a lot of us were.
Yeah.
So,
give me the reason why. Why?
Is he a plant?
Well, there's that. But also the fact that they have him dead to rights. Like, he was assaulting cops for 3 hours, and he used a baseball bat. And, I
saw that.
I mean, and it's like, not for nothing. We all did stuff. Like, I own what I did. I shouldn't have trespassed or picketed or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of people want their stories out because a lot of stuff was covered up. Like this gentleman right here, they withheld his video, exculpatory video that proves he said everything he said was true, and like that's the kind of stuff. Like that's the stuff that should be focused on. I don't make distinction between assault charge versus misdemeanor or any of that stuff. That's irrelevant. What I care about is, did you go there for the right reasons, or did you go there to entrap people and set people up? But if you spent the last 4 years, basically trying to promote yourself as the this victim of the justice system, when you know that there are actually people out there who were victims of the justice system, right. I don't have sympathy for that. That guy first off, he's not even a Trump supporter. He's an anarchist. So I mean, again, don't think he should be incarcerated, but he's not a Trump supporter, and he made that very clear. He was the whole cabal he worked with inside the jail were a bunch of rats and Antifa types. So.
Well, how about the Viking guy? Was he also not a Trump supporter?
I didn't meet him. He got removed quickly.
Yeah, because of his diet.
His diet.
Yeah.
He was
the first to say, "Oh yeah, Trump sent me there," and it was at his direction, right? And then because we had the same judge, Royce Lamberth. And he got 41 months. I got 41 months. But then the minute when the tide had changed directions and shit, and everybody was starting to be like, "Yeah, man, these fucking J6 guys really got it right," like shit like that. Now he's Trump, man. Yeah, you know what I mean? He's a fly by night dude.
Yeah. He seems the type.
Just so many inconsistencies with what actually happened on January 6th.
Well, there's the pop culture version. I mean, you already said it. Like, so many people believe this stuff, but they never asked us.
Right. That's why I'm saying.
You
have the floor. I don't want to sit here and make this an interview. I literally just want you guys to tell your story, and people can take their take from that, not what mainstream media is telling people.
Yeah. Well, if it was an insurrection, they wouldn't fight so hard to withhold the video.
Right.
And not for nothing too. Like. There were patches of violence on the outside, but one, that was isolated to certain areas. Two, the context is that a lot of these people were reacting to excessive force from the police. And I always make this point, like if you watch the CCTV, I was in the building. I was in there for about 40 minutes. The cops told us to leave and I left. If you look at the CCTV, you would, okay, if it was an insurrection, wouldn't you expect it to get more violent inside the Capitol?
Not only that, wouldn't people have shown up with weapons?
That's the biggest argument.
And there was not a single firearm there, correct? With the exception of the police.
I'll put a caveat here because I don't want to sensationalize because I don't like when they do it, and I want to be as transparent as possible here. There were a couple people who had firearms.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
However, the one dude there's a guy we were locked up with named Guy Reffitt. Good dude. He got screwed. He got over a 7-year sentence because he allegedly had a firearm in a holster. I don't think that they met their burden there. But he got over 7 years for that.
See, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't think anybody had, with the exception of maybe a pocket knife.
Well, they didn't charge the guy for having a gun. Like, they didn't even address it for over 7 months. He's just sitting in jail because he was just on the premises. He didn't go inside the building either. He never brandished a firearm either, and he was actually shot. The cops shot him. I helped a lot of guys with their cases. I saw his discovery. They took photos of him, and his entire torso was black and blue from the ceramic rounds they shot him with. So, Guy was actually shot, never shot anybody else. He's got over 7 years. Wow. Meanwhile, there's a guy named John Banuelos. They called him the Cowpoke. He actually discharged a firearm on top of a scaffold. Nobody talked about this. The media didn't talk about this. It was completely covered up for over 3 years. There's a guy named Derek Evans, a J6 defendant who ran for office in West Virginia.
Yes.
He finds the video and he's like, is this guy a Fed? Immediately, the guy gets charged. But they knew about him, and they knew about him for over 3 years. He was known out west because he was involved in a stabbing murder out in Utah.
Wow.
And when he gets picked up, he's like, oh, is the FBI going to come get me because of the Capitol? They knew him, and they ignored him for 3 years. Now, if it was an armed insurrection, wouldn't the first frickin' person you pick up is the guy who discharges a firearm?
Right.
And then the last thing I'll say is, I don't even remember the guy's name off the top of my head. There was a guy who dropped a loaded firearm in a holster on the ground. The guy we were locked up with named Jeff McKell pointed it out, and he's like, this is a drop gun. Because he was a CIA contractor, and he was like, this is what I would do in other countries. That's a drop gun. They wanted, according to him, he was of the opinion that they wanted someone to get shot, and so they dropped this guy. The guy who actually the gun belonged to, he gets probation. That's it. Wow. So you see the discrepancy there.
And you know, the J6 committee, all of this evidence and all of this documentation was all lost, correct? It's all disappeared now. It's all mysteriously.
It's like the
emails?
science to get on the moon, the science to land on the moon. It's all they lost it all.
They delete text messages. They delete the evidence. And meanwhile, keep in mind, a lot of guys, keep in mind, D.C. is extremely biased. A lot of people don't go to trial in D.C. because of how biased liberal juries are. Like, they were trying to seat people on my jury that worked for Chuck Schumer's office. I literally have the transcripts. They're all DOJ lawyers and all that. But keep in mind, too, a lot of the guys there, they were naming them on those stupid D.C. committee hearings. So they put these giant, stupid, like, widescreen TVs in D.C. They're naming, Ryan Nichols, Oathkeeper Jessica Watkins, this, that, and the other thing. They prejudiced any potential jury these people would have ever had.
Without a doubt.
So not only did they withhold evidence, they also they smeared defendants so they would never have a fair day in trial. It was, and they never, I mean, I think you talked about this last time, you couldn't get a change of venue.
Yeah, they wouldn't extradite you to a jury or your peers, knowing that 92% of the vote is Democrat in D.C.
Right.
That's why I was like, I'm grilled. I got 12 charges, 7 felonies, 5 misdemeanors. Let me bang out this assault and this obstruction. The obstruction now being overturned. Right? We were talking about that when I was first on. I'm like, this thing's gonna go away. It did, man. It's wild.
I think the answer is fairly obvious, but maybe not for a lot of people. Why do you think they were so hard on you guys? Why do you think these?
Well, I think they want to make an
obvious,
example out of it. Right?
The answer is pretty obvious, but I want their take on it. Like, why do you think that you guys got these? Well, first of all, very delayed sentences, right? Not given speedy trials, and then when you were actually sentenced, given these very harsh for the crime, right? I mean, let's say you're guilty of everything they charge you with, trespassing. Nobody gets that amount of time. Nobody.
I think in the long run, fear control, right? Fear control. And also think about the time frame. How long guys have been gone, right? Right around election time again, right? Yeah. Maybe to leave a footprint moving forward with the with this recent election. So many people being away. Maybe it's like, put fear in these motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Well,
make them think twice
certainly
about going
backfired.
out. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't think.
How many people are still in prison for this?
As of right now.
Yeah, like last I checked, it's like 350 or so.
Wow.
In jails and prisons.
Prisons.
So they found you after the fact, right? You went home after January 6th, right?
Yeah.
How, did they just going through video they found you?
No. I got picked up real early. So I got picked up about a week after. Like I told you, I was a security contractor for the military. So I was a DOD contractor, and I was also the union rep. I had a very bad relationship with management, so they tipped off NCIS that I was there. Not that I did anything, but just that I was there. They ended up coming to my house looking for me. They found my roommate, so they strapped him with a wire. So
no,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even know they still did that. Wait. A literal wire. They,
He didn't have to do it.
I mean, no?
Wait, was he down? Was he down with you?
I thought so.
I'm saying no.
I lived with him for 3 years.
Not like down for life.
No. We didn't roll like that. He was in the Navy. I was just a Navy contractor.
I'm saying, was he in January 6th with you? Was he at the
Capitol?
No.
No.
Well then, fuck that guy. Holy
Boom.
shit.
They gave him a pseudonym, and he testified against me at trial. They gave him a fake name.
What a piece of shit.
Wow.
Yeah,
looking at you totally different now.
Damn.
Did you testify against me, buddy?
You, yes.
Got him.
He's in the Navy too. No, it's I actually felt, what's like messed up? I felt bad for him because his contract with the Navy was ending. So like I feel like maybe they strong armed him into it. Like, if you don't do this, you're but I'm making excuses for him. I did that for 3 years.
You're a lot nicer than me.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Sock party.
So I know,
I'm more of a bleeding heart than people believe.
When Scott was on the first time, I mean, they came to your house the first time, and you said, "Look, I'm going to talk to my lawyer. See you later." And then
I just gave him the card. Like
a week later.
Here's my lawyer. 10 days. Well, They showed up January 12th. Yeah, 10 days.
So when they come to see you, is it similar circumstance? They come to talk to you, leave, and then come back, or are they right there?
No.
No.
I was on the way the day after my roommate records me. So, back up. They get him to wear a wire, and so I'm just like kind of just sitting there mulling over my thoughts. I've been drinking, and I was a comedian, so I'm a wise ass, and so like I'm talking back and forth with him, and he's a BLM guy, so just I never cared. I never.
That was the first red flag.
Hey, I know, but I lived with the guy for 3 years. I genuinely thought like we were good friends. And so he comes at me and we're going all crazy, and so he tries to incriminate me with the wire. The next day, I'm on that night. I'm living on the base, so I'm on the off ramp. I'm trying to go to the pet store so I can get food for my fish, which are all dead now, by the way. And so,
That is, you guys are like polar opposites here. Yeah. Did he make you pay his rent every month?
No.
He was feeding Flipper.
I did get to eat his leftovers though, so that was good. No, but I'm on the ramp off, and just immediately behind me, like 20 lights are going off, sirens, 20 armored cars pull me over, NCIS, FBI. I'm like, first I thought it was because it's in Colts Neck on Naval Weapons Station Earl.
Yeah.
So they always send the fire truck out to help in the local whatever. So I'm like, immediately I'm like, wait, no, it's too many lights. They pull me over. I'm just like, here we go. So I turned the truck off, put my keys up, and immediately guns in my face. Wow. I'm like, I'm not even resisting. I get out. They drag me to the ground. They tear the flesh, like they put me on the ground so hard it tore the flesh off my shins, and I didn't even realize it initially until I noticed all the blood on my jeans. And then from that point, I spent, they call it diesel therapy. The marshals bounced me around the country for a few weeks until I ended up in.
Sucks.
Yeah.
What? Just taking it
Confuse
from
you, man.
one facility to the next.
Yeah. They don't want you to know where you're going. They don't want you to be able to, I guess, tell people where you're going to be. But yeah, I was in.
They just ping pong you around.
And you end up in D.C.
Yeah, I started in Monmouth County Jail, went up to Newark. They drove me to New York. They flew me to Oklahoma. I was there for one night. They took me to West Virginia, then Virginia, and then like a week later I was in D.C., February 3rd.
At what point do you get to have an interview and tell your side of the story? I mean, is that early on, or do you just say, I want a lawyer and don't speak to them? Or
No, I talked to NCIS when they first picked me up, and that was a mistake. But it's funny because like I didn't say anything wrong, so they didn't use anything that was in the interview against me, because it would have actually helped my case, because everything I said was true, and they didn't use any of it at my trial, which you'd think they would, but no. If anything, they primarily tried to rely on the recording that my roommate made, and that sucked. But
What were they got? What, were you like, I fucking smacked this guy and I...
No, but I said about, again, I was drinking and I was a wise ass, so I said a bunch of ridiculous. I said, I don't want to swear. I apologize.
you can swear about it.
Oh,
It's a podcast.
fuck yeah. So I said, yeah, there was someone there, and they threw a flagpole like a javelin, and I picked it up. You should watch the CV. There was no. It's not a Mel Gibson movie. There was no javelin. That didn't happen. But I picked the flag. I flicked the flagpole off the ground and I brought it home. And that's the movie. You know, that's the movies.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but my trial was hilarious. Like if you watch the CCTV, they brought FBI agents up there to narrate what I'm doing. So they put this Fed on the stand. They're like, Agent, can you tell us what Mr. Hale is doing? I'm dancing in the Capitol Visitor Center, and the guy's like, he appears to be doing some kind of dance. There was a part there's this area called the Crypt. It's this round room with a bunch of statues in it. People were, they put Trump hats on the statues. Yeah. It's like, I'm sorry, but it was fucking funny.
Yeah.
It was fucking funny.
I definitely would have did that.
Yeah, dude, they put a Trump flag in the statue's hand. And I see it, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm taking a selfie with that.
Yeah,
and
photo up.
I pose with it. You can see it on the CCTV. It's hilarious, and the whole time you can hear people laughing and like kind of chuckling. They brought, you remember was it Terminator Judgment Day? Remember Stallone? He's got the shotgun in like the box of roses.
Yeah.
They bring one of those in with the flagpole that I found, and the jury's like, oh my god, it's a flagpole.
Flag.
But that was the burden that was the burden of proof to show I was an insurrectionist, that I was guilty of obstruction, that I walked in a building
Did a little
and I
dance
left.
and took a selfie.
Yeah.
This is a trial in front of a jury of your peers or in front of a judge?
Well, jury of my peers, but yeah, it was a jury trial. A lot of people opted for the bench trial later on because they figure, like, I'm not going to win with a jury trial, but at least with a judge, like, I might knock a few of these charges off. But at that time, I was I'm going to say, like, I was at the third or the fourth trial. I was supposed to be the first trial, but that was supposed to happen in November of 21. They ended up kicking it down the road because, like I said, they denied me my right to a speedy trial, and they said it was because of COVID. And then they said,
they used that.
yeah, and then they said, well, there's just so many cases. It's very voluminous. I'm like, well, whose fault is that? You arrested me without investigating. That's not my fault. That's your fault.
Reverse RICO, man. They arrested everybody and then formed their cases. So that's another reason why they didn't get the speedy trial going, is because they didn't have all their shit rounded up yet.
Yeah.
They used COVID, man. Like, that was like their biggest weapon. Oh, COVID.
Yeah.
Stay in your cell for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
No nail clippers.
That's a whole separate.
haircut.
That's a whole
COVID.
separate conversation about COVID. But yeah, I mean the impact this has had on you guys' personal lives, I'm sure has been. I mean, have you been able to rebound from this at all? You got out when, Scott?
June 8th of 23.
Okay, and you're December 2024.
Yeah. 23.
Three.
Yeah, 23. Yeah.
So, have you guys been able? I mean, I know Scott, you have. Tim, have you been able to rebound with this?
Yeah, like I'm doing some work. I'm doing like administrative stuff, but like I've mostly, I'm basically just rebuilded my life. I mean, but you know, I always say like I had it lucky compared to others. Like I always say I'm a bum. Like I didn't have a wife or kids. I lost my apartment, but I didn't have a mortgage. You know, so I mean, I lost some material crap, but at the end of the day, like none of that matters. The real hit was my reputation. I got smeared as a domestic terrorist. I lost all my satire from from 14 years. They nuked all your social media. I don't know if it was the same with you. Yeah. I lost my graduation photos from the military. It was hard to prove who I even was. Like they go after your entire identity, and you can't make a new account. Like they just nuke it as soon as you create a new one.
You guys can fly. Can you fly and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's fun. The minute I go in there, it's like I give them like the boarding pass, and they're like,
They know
they're
right
like,
away.
Come with me.
we got a special guest over here at Gate D, you know, and it's like the swarm comes in, you know. Yeah. It's like the triple S on the ticket, I think it is. No, quad S's, like SS, like 4 of them. I think that's something.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I go through like 3-4 searches.
Wow.
My own little lane to go and get everything done.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, you know,
I
and
know.
then they do all the swabbing with the gunpowder residue in your boots and inside my shit. And
Every time?
Every time.
Wow.
You know, I met a cop who knew you. And,
Oh, boy.
No,
Listen, that's not hard to believe. It's
a good story.
That's not hard to believe.
No, I am processed. When I went to BOP, I went to in Philly, and they were just giving us a jump. So I was only there for one night, and they're like, "Hey, you know that giant guy, Fairlamb?" I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Hey, he's a good guy." I'm like, "All right, cool." And that was it. But
They should have let me out of my cell. I was in there for 10 days. I didn't move.
Oh, man. Bro.
I was in the Philly hold, yeah. They had me with a guy, his name was John Rowe, New Hampshire guy.
Okay.
Moved out to South Dakota. Was an ex defense contractor kind of deal, right? Had a bunch of knowledge about, you know, warplanes and shit like that, right? But they completely set him up. And Russian, you know, American posing as a Russian agent, FBI agent, right? Gets him at the casino, this, that, the other thing. They set him up and charged him with espionage, man. He was in there with me when I got to Philly, right? And he was my cellie, you know. He was still there when I left, but I was led to believe that all his charges were dropped.
So it was bogus charges.
Yeah, old man. Oh, what an old man. Yeah, he's like, whatever I told him was all public knowledge. You know, that New Hampshire shit. It's all public knowledge. It's all fucking public knowledge. Yeah, Boston and New Hampshire, same shit.
Similar.
No, see, I'm innocent, see? I told you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that was wild. He was driving me nuts. He had like that COPD coughing up all
Oh,
over.
God, it sounds like you're dying, yeah.
I'm like, bro, get up and spit that in the toilet. He's putting it in a towel. I'm like, get your ass up and go spit that out.
Scott,
He's a good guy.
I know last time you were on, we were talking about your personal lives. I mean, I know a little bit of your story, and you shared a little bit. Obviously, your life was dramatically impacted. You had a divorce out of the deal, lost your home, but you found God. And I know you talked about that last time and how impactful that was to your rebuild. You know what I mean? And just being closer to God and your connection to Him. And you spoke to that last time. And you know, you mentioned it before. Just, you know, on your march there, saying, you know, Christ is King and stuff. It seems to be a common theme with a lot of January 6ers, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many different things I could talk about here. You know, when we were there, like, I mean, the COVID thing is true. Like, they used that to deny us pretty much every civil liberty we had. So there were parts, I think, where they could go to mosque in the jail, but in general, like, we weren't allowed to receive communion. You know, we couldn't practice religious services. If we were lucky in the beginning, they gave us like 1 hour out of our cells. So like sometimes we would do like a small Bible study, but it really wasn't a lot of us because they didn't allow a lot of us out at the same time. Yeah. But eventually when they opened up, then we would do Bible studies like seriously. And Scott was in Bible study all the time with us. You don't have a lot, you know, and like they're phonies, you know, they're like the jailhouse religion thing. So people were doing like the God hustle, but for a lot of it, like for a good core of us, you know, we took that time seriously to really read the scripture. You really don't have a lot when you're locked up, and it's easy to. I mean, even now that I'm out, like it's easy to like start focusing on all the stuff that doesn't really matter. Right. But at the end of the day, when you've got nothing and you're in a cell and you're staring at a wall and you're in a 7-foot square, like that's really what matters. You know, the stuff you have in the cell, which is nothing, is at the end of the day, that's what you're going to have when you're dead, you know.
I know another community thing in jail, and again, I only know this from Scott, that brought you together. You know what I mean? You guys, obviously what brought you to Washington, D.C. as well is your patriotism and, you know, saluting the flag and you know, singing "God Bless America" and stuff. And
that'll get you jammed up.
Yeah.
They didn't like that at all.
Yeah,
though.
you were saying the guards didn't like that at all, right?
No.
Why do you think that is?
He can tell you about that. They paid,
what do we got?
They paid me. What do we got?
What is this here?
Oh, he wrote a cop out in my name. This is sick. This is from jail, bro.
I brought a
got
couple of them,
receipts.
but
What is this?
I had the original somewhere, but this is a redacted one. We FOIA'd a lot of these.
Shit.
That's the grievance I wrote when they came to Scott's cell to threaten him because we were singing "God Bless America" one night. This guard, this scumbag guard, comes in there. He's like, basically yelling at us for singing. We're like, we're just singing "God Bless America." He's like, "Fuck America."
No.
And we're like, "Fuck America." I don't think so.
That's cool.
Like,
that's when I was like, "Fuck America." I was like, you got an American flag on your sleeve, homeboy.
No way.
Yeah.
And you're
Can I read this? Can I read this?
Yeah.
Like I said, every night, I guess it blacks out your name, I guess, sings the national anthem, "God Bless America," or other patriotic songs. An officer ran into our pod to scrutinize us last night. He was told we were singing "God Bless America." He responded with "Fuck America."
Yeah.
He left, came back, went up to and into the cell of blank to threaten him. The whole pod is witness to this. Blank as well. This is just like when blank was targeted by staff and assaulted, just like Corporal Blank would do. This officer made threats without his camera on. So they turned their body cam off.
So 3 of them. So what he did was he turned to everybody.
Oh, bro, you turn it off? I'm gonna get your ass.
So that's I'm right there with you. But here's the thing: he brings 3 other guys. Oh, yeah. I'm in cell 30. What were you? 15? No, 18.
I was in 16.
16.
1-6.
Yeah. So he's below me and to the left. But when you look out, you don't see. Like I can't see any. We're talking through the vents.
Right, yeah.
So this guy's down there, Corporal Holmes, right? And he's on the bottom tier, you know, and he's popping off all this shit. He's like, you know, when you wake up, Fairlamb ain't gonna be here. And I'm through the crack. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, doo-dah. You know, everybody else is chiming in, right? So he's like, all right, I gotta fucking do something to this guy. So he's like, I'll be back. And then, like in the middle of the night, you know, I had my rolling Velcros on, you know what I mean, laying in bed. I knew something was coming. Yeah. And sure as shit, man, them keys started jingling coming down the range. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's on. Yeah. He shows up with 3 other guards. The one dude who's like, had to be 7 foot. I mean, 6'10", 7. But in between there, this guy used to open it because we didn't have the bean slots. We just had a solid door with a little
Yeah.
That dude would open up the door and the tray would hit your desk right here. And his arm's over there. You're like, who the fuck, Inspector Gadget arm fucking. But the other two guys that came with this guy were canine guys, and they had always brought me to Howard University Medical for my treatments. Once they found out it was me, they turned their backs in a sign of like disrespect to the officer, to Holmes. He shut his shit off. I said, "Oh, you got I wanted to let it know, and you got your camera off, And he came in, he was foaming out the mouth, bro. He got all up in my shit, and just all of a sudden, man, I'm telling you, it was wild. I prayed for his safety, I prayed for mine as well, but I literally prayed for God, like to put some compassion in this guy's heart. And just, don't let me get another charge, because that's ultimately what they want. They're setting a trap. You think J6 is a trap? When you got there, you had to avoid bear traps every day.
Yeah,
they're just setting them up, and I knew, I'd smoke this guy.
Yeah,
I would have smoked him. But the fact that like I literally saw the Holy Spirit enter him, that and I've spoken about this, and him just back up, and like that whole his whole demeanor change, and that whole thing changed. It was just a wild,
very spiritual,
wild time.
Yeah.
I mean, there were other times that didn't end so perfectly, so to speak. Like we've had guards come in that unit and like literally just start spraying fucking people, so much so that this lieutenant comes in and sprays, and it goes into the vents. And the whole bottom tier is just gassed.
Oh, man.
And they're locked in their cell. And they're just gassed, bro. And nothing they can do. Nothing they can do.
They did that on Veterans Day, and all the veterans ended up joking. It was Dan Caldwell was a guy with us. He was a Marine, and he ended up collapsing on the ground. It took them over an hour to get medical to him.
To get medical, and yeah.
They're petty. I think a lot of those guys, like, and again, this is me being very generous here, I guess. A lot of those guards were local, and so they took J6 very personally, I guess. And also, I think a lot of them ate up a bunch of the bullshit about us.
Yeah.
But over time, some of them warmed up to us, and some of them started showing us favor. But a lot of them were just very petty scumbags. They're just.
Well, I'm sure that's why they put those type of people in there, right? They're not going to put people that were.
Well, I mean, he was right. A lot of it was a trap. I mean, I think he talked about this last time. There were guards who told us that they cleared that area out for us before J6. Like they knew that there were going to be people in there.
2 weeks before January 6th, they emptied out that side of CTF. Not only that, like think about this shit.
These are the things that people don't hear, that people need to know about. Is like these traps that are laid.
Well,
and
also
the things you saw, and you're talking about the flashbangs. Last time you were on, you were talking about the paintball and the pepper sprays. They're just pelting people.
I was getting lit up up in
the
a
barricades coming down, and what? Wouldn't all of that have been captured on CCTV from their own? And what is done with that? Why is that never
selective?
seen?
It's all been selective release. He found my evidence. Of me. I
can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about what you were charged with and why, because as soon as people hear that you had a physical altercation with police, they're going to say, "Oh, lock him up. You can't do that. You can't do that." And I'm not saying that you can. I'm certainly not. But there seems to be a lot more to that story.
Of course.
Can you clarify?
Of course. Yeah. So the follow up to this altercation is wild, because I was literally in the scaffolding, not violent at all, no weapons, no bullshit, and I was getting lit up. I was maybe 20, 25 feet off the ground in scaffolding, and I got a lady up in the catwalk just laying into me with the pepper ball gun. I mean, so much so that I end up crouching down to make myself a smaller target, and she's popping me in the kneecap with this thing, right? 23 minutes, what was it? Then after that, I go up and I'm making my way up towards the Capitol, and I see there's 4 Capitol officers that are stranded outside on this stoop. And, there's objects being thrown here, there, this, that, the other thing. So much so that there was an altercation that went down to the ground. I go down onto the ground with it, actually stop somebody from kicking this cop in the face, grab him by his vest. We get up to the ground, up on our feet. I'm telling him, hey man, you want water? Because I had picked up a big thing of
Say
water.
he, the police officer.
Yes.
Yep.
There was 4 of them. They were locked outside of their stoop, separate from the rest of their squad.
Yep. This is local PD.
No, this is Capitol Police.
Capitol Police. Okay.
So
So local PD were there too, right?
This is where it goes. Yeah.
Metro.
Our New Jersey State Police got there before Metro PD.
Okay.
Yeah. So I literally tell him, hey, listen, I got, here's some water, blah, blah, blah. They got on their gas masks. He's like, fucking, we got on these gas masks, blah, blah, blah. He turns around, talks to these other 3 guys, turns back around. He says, hey, can you get us the fuck out of here? I said, and meanwhile, I was telling him, you guys got to get out of here. You're going to get fucking killed. Just because that where I was, that was clearly Antifa provocateurs, and the whole shit. So he says, can you get us out of here? Absolutely. I put him in a stack formation, bring him around the foundation right there. I got my hand raised in the air, so I'm not going to get shot again. Okay. 23 minutes after that leads to this assault that I had on Metro PD. But what they showed in the edited clip that I saw for the first time coming back from my plea agreement is me just turning around and pushing a cop, okay, for no reason, right? And then he, I put my hands up and said, don't fucking touch me. He smacks my hand. I hit him with a jab. What they failed to show is that row of guys, that Metro PD guys and girls, marching through that crowd like stormtroopers, just hitting people, brutalizing everybody. Yeah, I was saying shit to him, are you a fucking American? Act like one, all this shit, because I was seeing them literally fucking whacking people. What they don't show is the cops circle around the back of me and assault me first. That's why I turn around and push the first person I saw. Why would I just turn around and push somebody for no reason? I didn't know who it was. Right. It just happened to be a cop. If it was a Pope, I would have pushed him. It doesn't matter, And at no point in time was I given any verbal command at all.
That would have been my next question.
At all.
Are they saying to you,
no,
exit, leave, and you're not, but they're not giving you verbal command?
They gave me no verbal command. If there was any a verbal command in that episode, there would be no grounds for self-defense. But because there was no verbal command, no, I'm being detained, there was nothing said. So there was no grounds for any kind of, I had grounds for self-defense. And even in that case, it has to be viewed at through my eyes, not the eyes of what would be the cop. But it gets even crazier. They charged me with the 111B, all right, the assaulting, resisting, or impeding federal officers. Metro PD is not a federal officer. It's a civilian career. They leave and go into fucking National Guard, National Guard or Army Reserves, and come back and get rehired. They don't clock out at Metro PD, get to the Capitol, and then become a federal officer. Right. It's bullshit. Right. So even if that cop that I hit was injured, most amount of time I should have did was 1 year or up to $1,000 fine.
Well, let's clarify that he was not injured. I believe he had a full
no
face shield on,
no
correct?
injuries, no injuries,
face shield.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
As a result of my actions that day, in front of the judge, the prosecutor stated that as a result of my actions, nobody was injured and there was no property damage. But yeah, I got an 8-point enhancement on my obstruction charge for significant injury and property damage. Wow. And another 3 for significant interference. And then on top of that, the assault, which had a base level 14 for it being assaulting a federal officer, which he wasn't. Wow. Another 6-point enhancement for it being an official victim. Well, that's fucking impermissible double counting. You're already labeling this the highest base level score of a 14 that you can make it because it's a fed, right, federal officer. And now you're putting 6 on top. That's where they smoked everybody. Yeah. They smoked everybody on these enhancements and that bogus 15-12 charge, man. Like they used that as such a weapon and a bargaining chip when it came to pleas because so many of these guys haven't even had a fucking ticket in their life. These guys don't have any history. They're throwing this 15-12 charge on you and saying, well, this carries them a maximum of 20 years. You better plead to this, and this, or you're fucked.
Right.
Another thing, too, is, and this is fucked. I confronted officers that he saved that were lying on social media. It's like there's like an industry now where all these cops from the Capitol are trying to get famous and they're I don't know if you watched the sham committee that they had in DC, but like they had these cops out, they're crying. Oh,
I did see that. What was the one guy?
Fanon? He's hiding in the woods right now. Yeah, he's hiding in the woods with a gun saying he's going to go down in a firefight because they all know their time's coming. Listen, it's fucking over. I watched his body footage. I would love to get that guy to just sit down on the show and go back and forth with him. I watched his body footage, his body cam, start to finish that day. He gets checked out after apparently he was tasered in the neck, right? He's getting checked out by a medic in the back as his partner walks up. The medic is like, hey, you got any bumps, bruises, cuts, anything we need to know about? No. He's like, all right, you could go back in. But this guy got tased in the neck. He fake passes out. He takes his body cam, bro. You see him like this in his eye, and then pretends he's passing out like this. Meanwhile, he walked into the Capitol. The elevator was broken, right? He walks all the way around to the other side, in the rear of the Capitol, get on that elevator, and then says I'm passing out over here, bro.
Keep in mind too, his claim to fame is like, the crowd. There's this place called the Tunnel, which is like it's like a narrow passage into the Capitol where like the cops are doing like this heave-ho shoving match with protesters or whatever for like a couple hours. His whole thing is that he got grabbed by protesters and dragged into the crowd and he was tased and they I don't know, they pepper sprayed him in the butthole or whatever, but like pee pee poo poo, but like what actually happened was like the crowd actually brought him back. There were people in the crowd grabbed him and brought him back to the other officers. I'm not saying he should have been tased or whatever. Like he's a crybaby. Most of those the officers that day that have testified out in public and stuff like that, they're all liars. Yeah. There's too many.
You think they're being told a lie?
Without a doubt. Yeah. They were all coached. Yeah. They were all coached, But
so what happens after January 20th with this J6 committee? What do you, Liz Cheney, and what do you guys think?
I think her walls are really closing in. They have the receipts. Yeah, they have the receipts of
Cassidy
didn't
they just
Hutchinson.
try as part of this massive bill? They just try. It wasn't part of that. Like they always slide.
They were trying to slide that in.
Where their emails are off limits, right? And I think a lot of people surmise that it's because of January 6th.
Private servers,
right?
Apparently, they were tried sneaking that in.
Well, that didn't work well for Hillary. So.
Yeah, but what did they really do to her?
Yeah.
Nothing.
They didn't do fucking nothing.
True. Nobody gets held accountable for fucking anything
on either side.
Well, my hope is if Kash Patel does get in there and he's like a real like superstar like everyone expects, I hope that he does hold these people. Like I'm not speaking for anybody else, but as a J6er, like I want people held accountable. I don't want a crusade against my political opponents, but I do want people held accountable. The people who did all this crap, set us up, and then lied about us, I want them held accountable. So
it's wild to hear you say that for what you've been put through, for the time you've served. The other side, and again, I don't want to speak with a big painted brush here, a big wide. What's the saying? With a broad brush of the stroke. I don't think they would ever say that on the other side. They would want you persecuted to the fullest extent.
Two things.
That's amazing to hear you say that.
Two things. I'm big into history. I was a history major, and I'm big into a lot of things. I'm a big reader, but I believe in the common law system. America's legal system is an amazing thing, and I think that it's a beautiful thing, but it's also fragile. So one bad precedent can ripple through history for generations. So I don't care about your personal views about abortion or whatever, but like you look at Roe v. Wade, and then you look at how many decades it took for that to be overturned. You look at Plessy Ferguson, and you look at how many years it was until Brown versus Board of Education. Bad precedent can last for a long time before it's reversed.
That's a great point.
So the pendulum can always swing back in the other direction. I told you I was a union guy. I support the labor movement, and there was a time where unions used to be targeted by law enforcement. The anti-war movement during the Nam era, the civil rights movement, things that you might typically consider to be left or center left, like it can always go back to the other direction instead of the right, instead of parent-teacher groups or Catholic churches or whatever. I'm always worried about the pendulum swinging back in the other direction. I don't want to do that to my enemies. The second thing too, and this is my belief, but vengeance is mine, so saith the Lord. I don't want vengeance. I want justice. Mm-hmm. I want these people held accountable, but I don't want to go in a crusade against people I hate. And I guess that's really
so eloquently said.
Well, I don't like to brag, but I will.
I mean, really though, for someone who's been put through, you could use the word persecuted, use many words here, but put through, we'll just say, has withstood what they've done to you. It's remarkable to hear you speak like that. You know what I mean? That's Would you second that, Scott? Or
Yeah.
Are you not?
No.
just
So
forgiving?
you want me to mix it up and come up with another?
I just want you to be.
You want
good.
the left
I just
hook?
want you to be Scott, which you always are. That's what I
No,
want,
it's so.
you know?
While I agree with that, I would like some humility. I would like center stage. Apologies. Center stage apologies, like fucking we know.
Is an apology justice though? It's not really justice.
I mean,
it depends on who you're asking. Yeah.
In a way, it is. I mean, that's the last thing they want to do is admit they were wrong.
That's just it, and I know that would hurt them more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we know that you know.
See, I disagree. I wasn't there. I want you boys to get what you want, your justice. But you see, like, The View make their apology. They don't fucking mean it. It's the most half-assed apology. They do it all the time. They what do they?
Yeah, they just did one for Gates.
Rescind their statement. They're like, oh, we have a legal statement to make here. We made a statement.
I don't watch The
It's
View.
never. I don't either, but I see the clips on Rogan. It's never sincere. It's always half-assed. It's never from a genuine place.
Okay, so if you're talking about like justice, right? So let's talk about Liz Cheney and what they really have on her with the
Hutchinson.
Yeah, Cassidy Hutchinson. As far as witness,
is Cassidy Hutchinson the one that said Trump grabbed the steering wheel?
The witness tampering, yeah, and they wouldn't. So they interviewed the Secret Service driver, wouldn't use any of his testimony. Everybody that was in that car completely denied that and said it was fabricated, right? But here's the thing: witness tampering, right?
1512.
That's 1512. That's what I got charged with. Obstructing an official proceeding.
That's what the actual.
That's what they were fucking doing. So okay,
20
does she get charged with or is it something like everybody throws this shit around treason. Well, we all know what the fucking punishment is for treason.
Yeah.
Come on, that ain't ever gonna happen. No. They throw around a lot of these big words, and they threaten. Oh, we're going after him. We're doing this. We're doing that. Look, do I think at the end of the day that there will be a massive amount of people held accountable for this? I don't. What I think will happen is I think there'll be a blanket pardon. I only think that really came into effect for the January 6th guys due to the fact of, Biden lying and Karine Jean-Pierre getting up there and lying for months and months and months about, I'm not going to pardon my son. He's not going to pardon his son. Never going to happen. Well, guess what? He did. All right. So that right there. And then on top of that, you have 8,000, what is it now? At 8,400 pardons and commuted sentences. 40 dudes on federal death row that have the heinous
people.
Kids. Raping and killing kids.
Cash for kids judges, right? We
Correct.
talked about this. We
Correct.
talked about the pedophile, not the pedophile, but the guy that had the
Chinese nationalist.
Yes.
Yeah. He had so many bits of child pornography on a shit that they just literally stopped counting after
we
thousand
should say, and Frankie brought this to my attention, and we talked earlier a little bit about this that that's a massive number. But I think 6,000 or some of them, I kind of agree with Frankie. They were pretty minuscule marijuana charges, right?
Well, first of all, they shouldn't be.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Those.
But there are some heinous. We're talking about the heinous crimes on there.
Yeah.
That is unforgivable. Like, why would they ever be pardoned? It doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like they're doing it on purpose. I don't know. Do you think like Trump? He pardoned some people, right? When he was, who the fuck did he pardon? I'm sure we would have heard if he pardoned a fucking pedophile. If he pardoned a fucking guy that killed a bunch of people, we would have heard that for sure.
Well, everything that he's literally done has been some kind of bargaining chip. When you look at it, I mean, look at fucking Brittany Griner. We traded her for fucking, what was that guy? Something about death.
And he
the doctor of death or some shit.
Yeah.
But we leave Paul Whelan over there, right? Like it's like what? And she had a fucking
she had a poster, right? Stole a poster.
And she had like it's just fucking. We traded. It never ends.
Justice is
That's exactly it. There needs to be a revamp of the whole shit, and hopefully Cash comes in and makes some noise and gets shit going the right way. But I mean, what's really nuts is how little faith our country has in its own justice system now, you know? And it's wild because, like, I can remember growing up when you saw an officer, a cop or something, it was like, you know, fuck you. Well, here's what the parents did. You met the cop and everything was good and this and that and the other thing. But then, do you remember that time when, like, it was like, all of a sudden, like, your parents were like, or somebody would say, like, if you're bad, you know, I'm going to go tell that cop, you know, I'm going to tell the cop on you. And then all of a sudden it became like, it was like weird how there was like the dynamic started to change a little bit here, a little bit there. And then you had a couple bad apples, right? And then the overexploitation of them on TV. Then you got, you know, the shit with George Floyd and all that shit coming out, still coming out with the truth on that situation. Yeah. But it, like, cities burned down and then they became the Antichrist, you know, it was like, oh, fucking cops are the worst things in the world, right? But then it's like, it's just crazy how it's always a constant. Somebody's under the microscope, or somebody is the fucking is public enemy number one, and we were that. Yeah, we were that when we were years when we were those first dudes, man. Like, and that's something that I talked to you a little bit about before. It's like, you know, I was a problem-solving guy for a lot of people growing up and into my adult years, you know, and some of them were cops, you know, that had problems with somebody off duty or whatever it was. Somebody called me and needed something handled. I would be the first person to, yeah, no problem, no matter what it was. But it's crazy how once I got into this situation, how quick, you know, people that you thought were somebody
turn your back on you.
Yeah, you know, and I use it to like that fucking meme with Homer Simpson when he like fades back into the shrub. You know what I mean? So it's like, while I get it, it's made me sharper. It's made me sharper. It's made me refocus on the real brotherhood that I have with guys. You know, but it's also like, you know, it opens up your eyes to people that like. For how fucking long were you? You know what I mean?
You're a human being, just like the rest of us at the end of the day. So.
Right.
If I could walk you guys back to the morning of January 6th, I remember your story, maybe not so perfectly clearly, but I believe you got up in the early morning hours to make that drive. Let's bring you back. It's January 6th. It's the morning of, what do you do differently? Do you not go at all? Both of you guys. Do you not go at all? Or do you still go and do? All right.
So this is the question that I answer with a question.
Okay.
You know, so many things that transpired as a result of that day. I'd be a jerk off if I were to say, yeah, I'd go again tomorrow after what it put my mother through, my family, you know, the people that genuinely loved me, you know, and the shit and the backlash that they had to go through. Myself, I know I could fucking handle it. But the others, that's not fair. And then my question is how much I've gained from it.
Yeah.
You know, myself, I'm not talking any kind of gain because I fucking lost everything. But I gained something that is never, you know, they can never take away, and that's my faith, you know. So it's a similar question of, like, would you be willing to give up 2.5 years of your freedom for eternal life through Christ? And I've said this time and time again. And for me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But if you can't do it again without putting everybody through shit. You know, and my mom being older now, it's just something that, you know, everybody in my family, like, come on, man, that'd be selfish of me to say yes, but it's also,
it's the shrapnel, right? It's what other people.
That's exactly it. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those things that, man, is it in the moment, how I'm feeling in the moment, knowing now what I know then. I don't know, because now here I am. I'm on the right side of fucking history for the rest of my life. You know, it's.
Tim, how do you feel about that? Morning of.
I could be a smart ass to say baked into the hypothetical is I know it's a setup, so I could warn people. But you know, I mean, look, my motivation. I mean, I told you I was like a big history guy. Like in my mind, this was either going to be the last public speech President Trump made as president, or he was going to pull a rabbit out of his hat, and this was going to be the beginning of his second term. So from my perspective, it was going to be a historical day, even if it was going to be boring. And I was right. It was historic, just not in the way that I had hoped. You know, I don't disagree with what he just said. There's different ways to look at it. I didn't have like a transformational, you know, thing go on in jail. Like I already had faith. I was already fire and brimstone kind of guy as it was. I think if anything, it did. I think it made me stronger, but I didn't really. I don't feel like I changed. I'm still an asshole. Like I'm still the same asshole. But in a way, I'm grateful because I think that. I just think in general, like when you suffer through things, I think it offers you the opportunity to become stronger. Or not. Like I stared into the abyss, it stared back, and I kept staring, and then it looked away. Like I'm not glad that I was entrapped or persecuted or snitched on or I had to spend a year in prison with chomos, but I am. We're part of history. Like we're gonna be able. We're writing books about what happened. We're gonna be the authorities on the historical narrative of what actually happened, and people are going to forget who Liz Cheney is when she's rotting in prison. So I don't know exactly the best way to answer that, but things happened that shouldn't have happened, but we were in the right. We were on the right side of history, and especially after what we know now, nobody's going to tell us otherwise.
It's almost always the people that make the hugest sacrifices that are talked about in our history books, So I totally see where you're coming from there.
Yeah, I don't want to get like a big head about this. I don't want like a complex, but like you just said, Nelson Mandela, like people who are willing to sacrifice for what they believe in, people who are willing to suffer. Like again, that I believe that every man, even if it's not J6, like everybody gets called to bear their cross eventually, and not to make this like totally theological, but that's. I think a lot of people have fucked up lives. I had a fucked up life. Like I didn't. If they had treated us fairly from the beginning, yeah, give me my misdemeanor. I'll go home. I'll pay the fine at the window. They didn't do that. This was. Right. I think this broke a lot of people, but I also think it made. I think it really separated the men from the boys, and so. I don't know, man. I think. I just had to look. Sorry, forgot you off. You said broke a lot of people. I had to look at my notes here real quick. Yeah. Real quick. Matthew Perna being one of the people that broke, right? That was a guy that literally had
Perna.
Yeah. My eyes aren't so good. Keep getting the names wrong.
Yeah, Perna. Yeah.
Perna. Okay.
That's a sad. That's you know what?
I watched his aunt testify in front of Congress, and it was incredibly hard to watch. Yeah. I mean, there's a guy that literally it broke. He took his own life because he couldn't take. What do you?
Yeah, that's kind of the question I had. Like,
sorry, buddy.
No, I'm saying it's Biggie backing off you. You guys aren't broken from it. If anything, you guys seem like you're stronger from it. But how many people did you meet that it did break?
Well, I'm too.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people lose their shit. I had a guy next to me that was, and you can vouch for this. I was talking him off the ledge every night. John Mellis, who turned out to be a real piece of work, but he literally believed that special forces were coming to extract him through the top of his cell.
Jeez.
Literally every night, he was on the ledge. Yeah, he was right there. Yeah, fucked up. I mean, and then you have other guys just going through
like you said before, though. For a lot of these people, I would imagine. Again, I don't know. You guys can. A lot of these guys never even had a traffic ticket. So
he did 8 years.
Oh, before
he had already done 8 years.
All right, well, it doesn't apply to him.
8 or 10? 8.
I think it was.
Then
He was
what?
Meth lab.
I think it was
meth lab.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe he was just tweaking.
Yeah.
You ever
All right, well, ruin that theory there, Scott.
You ever
I did my part.
You ever see him like freak? Like he just starts getting that meth tick and like half his face contorts. He's like,
he's fucking like somebody.
No,
he's got.
How do you do 8 years for meth without killing somebody?
Oh,
it was 10
for meth.
It was 10 years on a 20 years. He had a 20-year sentence. He did 10 on, and he had like a 10-year suspended sentence. So he did half the time for the meth lab thing. But it was also other stuff. Like he had larceny. He's a con artist and thief and stuff. There's a bunch of other stuff.
Trump's got supporters from meth labs too. You know what I mean? He's got them all over the place.
Yeah.
We had some characters in there. We had some fucking weirdos too.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
You know what's messed up is like with the Perna thing. He was by me like when I was leaving the Capitol. It's like they were just getting done sealing up the breach site when they were like kicking us out, and then it got broken right back in. And so what happened was Perna, he actually got pushed into the building, and so I actually found it. And this is what sucks is like I was mainly like looking for the guys in the jail to like help them with their cases. I didn't really like my aunt formed like a, Cindy, she built a relationship with Jerry, like, but it was too late at that point. Matthew had already, hung himself. But in
prison he hung himself?
No,
he was in jail, right?
No, like he had taken a plea deal, and basically at the last second they pulled the deal, and they were going to give him new charges and ask for a longer sentence. So they basically waited till the last second. They screwed him, and then after that.
Where was he when was he in jail? Or he was still in jail when he got the plea, or he was home?
I think he was home, and he was actually his father's caretaker. And so, and then actually his father died recently too, because after Matthew's death, his father just had a health decline. Yeah. And but he was pushed in. They withheld video for him. I found the video after the fact. I wish I'd known about it beforehand, but I look at the video.
I keep hearing you say you found it. That's through FOIA request, right?
No. So
no.
This is the thing. Like finding, if you're a defendant, there's all these different ways that they try to hide evidence from you. In his case, they just don't give it to him. In other people,
discovery, right?
Yeah, it's exculpatory evidence. Like the idea, like if they have anything that could be used in your favor, like they have to provide it to you. And not for nothing, they're supposed to provide you the stuff that makes you look bad too. Like, but they just withheld it. And so, like for me, I initially had a public defender. Excuse me, horrible. He kept confusing me with Dominic Pizzola because me and Pizzola, one of the Proud Boys, we had the same guy. Every time he calls me, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but Donald Trump. I'm sorry, he's the biggest piece of shit president we ever had. But you're not going to get any help here. Oh, by the way, are you a Proud Boy?" I'm just like, "That's the other guy. I'm not the Proud Boy."
Oh my God.
And but he shows me video like a couple months in. I'm in D.C. He won't file for a bond hearing. I'm just sitting there like, where's the evidence? He finally gets some evidence of me walking through the building in my suit. And he got that video from another client he had. So I didn't even get my discovery from me. He happened to find it because a client had it. So they just pick and choose if they want to give you your evidence. And so, but I found Matthew Perna because it's CCTV. And so, like, when I finally got the video of me walking out, I'm like, oh, hey, there's this guy that they're literally beating. He's getting crushed. Like, there are people behind him forcing him in, and the cops are whacking him on the hands, whacking him. He literally got beaten by the cops for being pushed into the building. So I mean, he got beaten, and then he got railroaded, and then he unfortunately took his life.
So now, like you guys are patriotic guys. You went down there kind of for those reasons. You know what I mean? How many people that just ended up there that were not intent? You know what I mean? That just I showed up. They had no politics. No. Just,
all right, yeah. So there were guys in our unit that I think you could vouch for too. I mean, there was this fucking Tom Civic, who went there. What did he say?
Cornhole Tom, Nurse Tom.
Yeah, there was like something like he thought it was going to be like a cool party or some shit, and like he wasn't even like a Trump guy.
No, he was he hated cops. He bragged about assault. And again, he was one of the guys that did like the Fanone thing. So I'm not defending Fanone.
Yeah, he was part of that Fanone arrest.
What's that?
The cop that had the tattoo on his neck that said he was tased and all that.
Yeah.
He was the guy that took his radio.
He buried it in his backyard. He took his badge.
Fucking backyard. He took his badge and his radio. He buried them in the fucking backyard.
I was just saving it for him. I was trying to help. Like,
yeah, he had like 4 different stories of that shit. Oh yeah, no, it's in a dumpster down by the Sup Motel.
It's in a van down by the river. Yeah,
he was a fucking weirdo, but he wasn't a Trump guy. Or
he was Antifa.
Looking for.
I mean, he said he was like, I think Antifa has the right idea. He would bash Trump nonstop. This guy would like grab everybody together before we'd sing the anthem at night. And so Civic, he starts basically getting his period because he's like, he doesn't want to sing the national anthem, and nobody was forced to.
Right.
But he starts going around telling his dad that he's being bullied.
Yeah, he's on the phone with his father. I'm like, you tell your fucking. His father was in the Navy, right?
Yeah, he was a Navy officer. He was a dentist. Yeah, and so he throws us all under the bus. He writes a I'm sorry letter to his judge, who called him one of the worst from that day. Judge Howell. She used to be the chief judge. She was responsible for screwing a lot of us initially.
Yep.
He writes a letter to her saying, I'm sorry for watching Fox News. Trump is a bad boy. I'm sorry. And he gets bail. And keep in mind, this is after he goes to the hole for sexually assaulting a bunch of the dudes in the pod. He was groping dudes' asses and showing his cornhole. I can't even get into all the things he did. He would watch dudes on the toilet. Yeah, he was. But yeah, he was a So
he didn't come near my cell. I put him in check real quick.
Oh, Cressman!
Yeah. I think he was our waiter.
He was.
I'm joking.
You want this to go?
He was from Buffalo, New York, so I would call him Buffalo Tom, like Buffalo Bill. But he was a creep. But yeah, he ends up going to the hole because too many people were writing him up.
And
then he gets bail.
Well, the one that was like, that broke the camel's back or whatever was with Robert Morris. Robert Morris just got out too. He was an Army Ranger, known as Lego Man. The guy that they arrested that said he had a
Capital Lego set.
Oh yeah.
He had the Lego set. It was in the box. It was never even set up, and it's like a fucking children's Lego set, right?
He's out, trying to say he like had a layout of the
Criminal Lego mastermind.
Yeah, but so the one incident was with him. Tom Civic was trying to set him up to come into his room to say he had to put something on him, to put a charge on him. And I was like, fucking Moors, get over here. I'm like, stay away from that dude. Stay away from him. You're gonna get jammed up. And then I told Civic, I was like, you fucking go near him again. I'm gonna fucking crush you. But that was what it was. You know what it was? It was like the entrapment, man. It was like rats in there trying to just do little shit or try and get you to say something. Like that started on day one.
Yeah. Now, how many people total January 6th were charged? Over 1,000, right?
Yeah, well over.
All of them were
over 1,500.
1,500.
All of them were kind of mass directed to DC jails.
No.
I
think there was. Well, it was 45 of us were considered the worst of the worst in the beginning, right?
Yeah, so everybody gets charged. A lot of people, they just got bail, but a lot of us, they kind of what kind of headline can I get out of you? So a lot of us were kept in DC. There were guys in Northern Neck, Virginia. They just kind of, it's kind of like the Gulag Archipelago, where in the Soviet Union, they had just a bunch of prisons and gulags that they kept people in. That's what they did after DC. There were prisons and jails throughout the country that they just kind of hid people in. So, but yeah, they called it the shock and awe campaign.
Well, it seems like, from what you guys are saying, DC was extremely biased, right? And I'm saying, did some of these other guys get a fair shake in other jails spread throughout the country? Was it less bias, if you will?
I mean, I'm probably biased in saying I feel like DC was really bad because we were in this the epicenter of everything. But they were. I was in Northern Neck. I feel like the food was way worse in Northern Neck. It was pure slop. I don't want to downplay what other dudes went through.
Sure.
I don't know if
I get that. I think in a nutshell, everything was just shit.
You might have had more freedom with the rec.
I think what happened with a lot of the guys, eventually not going to DC anymore, being locked up or sent there. I think what happened was they put too much on their plate. I think the lack of resources when it came to the amount of marshals being able to transport that many dudes, it started backfiring on them. They were cutting themselves low. And then also, you got to think about the
press.
Yeah, and just, bringing people down to DC, and then, I just think that's ultimately what it, they said, all right, keep them there, keep them here, especially when you weren't getting trial by jury of your peers or anything like that, and they were violating that. It started to gain more grounds. In the beginning, we had nothing. There was nothing. You didn't have shit. And little by little, we started getting more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more.
Freedom.
I feel like we never. And I think it's a tip of the hat to what we were and what we are as men in there. I don't feel like the fucking ball ever rolled back on us. We doubled down. Yeah, we're here. Let's fucking make the most of it. Let's take this on the chin and keep moving forward, right? And I think we had our small wins. When Lonnie Kaufman, they're shackling this dude, and his fingers and their sausages they're gonna explode, and he's got to go every day down to medical, and he's got to be like this every day. around other inmates that clearly don't like this guy because of, one, what the guards are saying, right? He can't defend himself. There's no way. So I literally said, nobody's leaving this fucking unit. I said, nobody leaves this unit. We're not leaving this unit until we're not shackled anymore. And sure as shit, nobody left the unit, and it changed the next fucking day. But it was solidarity. It was strength in numbers, and that's how we got shit done. No, if you don't want to eat that shit. If you got one fucking egg and a slice of bread, right? We're not eating it. Send the trays back. But you're not taking that to your cell. You know what I mean? Right. You're not going to go have that egg. We're all fucking starving. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Send it back. Together, yeah. Send it back. Send it back. And I'll come and get the trays. Yeah.
I think also over time too, I think they just stopped bringing new people. So like eventually it just whittled down.
Yeah, so we started developing like a rapport, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be my next question. In prison, obviously you're in close quarters. You can do that. Even if you're talking through the vents. Outside of prison, when you guys most of you are out now, you guys are two Jersey guys that aren't that far apart, and you haven't spoken until here tonight, correct? So there's no community of you guys to be able. Is there any forums? Is there any website? Is there any way for you guys to engage?
Well, that's
with
another
each
thing.
other?
That's another thing that
they want. They don't want them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Correct. Yeah. That's another thing that they held over our head with the probationary periods and stuff, is that we couldn't be in communication. So it's like one of those things where it's, obviously now his sentence his conviction's completely vacated. Not conviction. He was never convicted. You were charged, correct?
I mean, I was convicted at trial, but
convicted at trial. All right. So, but that's been completely.
Yeah.
He's done.
Did a 4-year sentence for a fake felony, and it just got vacated like last week. So if the appellate court hadn't confirmed what the Supreme Court said about that stupid obstruction charge, I couldn't be here right now talking to him.
Right.
I couldn't be here right now.
Oh, literally, it just happened. Wow.
Yeah, I would have to still be waiting probably until after Trump's. The resentencing hearing for the stupid misdemeanors is still in March, but I'm off supervised release now. But if they didn't have that ruling in the appellate court, I couldn't talk to anybody. Now I'm like, but.
So we've talked, a little about the past. Scott's been here before. We've talked a lot about the past. We've talked about what happened the day of. We've talked about your sentencing. We've talked about prison. What happens now in the future? Trump's in. Trump got in. January 20th. What happens for you guys? Is there any moment of, not a moment, is there any justice for you gentlemen? We talked about the court system here a little bit too, but lawsuits, things of that nature, does that happen? Is there a win here where you guys actually get some, for lack of a better word, compensation for what was taken from you?
I think restitution is definitely going to be. Yeah, I think that's going to.
Not that bright, Frank, I'll tell you.
Well, he did. And I think there's going to be. I think restitution is going to be a big part of making people whole. President Trump has said repeatedly, like he's going to make sure that people are taken care of. And with Cindy, she's had events, and Trump has made it clear, like he sees the kids of these families and stuff, and he tells them, you're going to have a good life. Your parents are going to come home. So I can't see the future, but I think with Pam Bondi in there, I don't think the Justice Department's going to put up much of a fuss if there are lawsuits that are pressed over. Again, there are different things that go down. Yeah, there's entrapment. We got to prove that, but you've deprivation of rights. I think there are a lot of excessive force. There are a lot of different things that we can go down. So yeah, I think that there's going to be like a financial element to it. Not that it should be about the money, but how else do you can't get four fucking years? You can't get 4 fucking years left back.
It's money's doesn't compare.
He lost.
He put a price tag.
He lost his fucking. He lost his gym. I lost a 12-year military career. I lost my security clearance. If J6 hadn't happened and they didn't do me the way I did, I'd be getting ready to retire with a pension. And just whatever. That's still material.
Hell
but like,
yeah, that still matters.
No, that's the foundation of your. That's the foundation of your life.
You Google our names. The first thing that comes up, insurrectionist. For me, I told you I was a comedian. They took satire of mine, a year-old satire at the time of J6. So now, 5 years to try to frame me as a.
What are you doing next Tuesday? We'll have you back on as a comedian.
I'm probably going to be trolling feds on the internet, but yeah, they tried to frame me as a fascist, and it's just like that's the only thing you're going to see if you Google my name, if you Google any of our names, and And yeah, it's
if you guys could speak to that, the other side of the aisle, the people that hate you guys, what would you say to them? I think you've clarified a lot of things. I think if you explained, I know what Scott wants to say. Maybe a better question for you, Tim. But if you could speak to them, because they have labeled you, and seemingly nothing is going to change their mind. You've kind of walked your way through the day here. You've talked about what you would do differently. But, I mean, I feel like they're so set in their ways that they are going to always view you as people who tried to overthrow our democracy and our government. If you could speak to them, what would you say? Not that they're watching, because they don't like us either. But.
Even if everything that was ever said about us was true, even if you were as generous as possible and every narrative about us being morally deformed was true, it would not change the fact that the excesses of the past few years have been totally egregious, that justice has not been blind, that the justice system has been approached with an evil eye and an uneven hand, that there has been selective prosecution, and that everything we hold sacred in the Bill of Rights and the 14th Amendment have been totally deprived. What I would say is that true leadership, and this is why I think part of why Biden is gone, and thank God, true leadership means showing mercy, especially for dissidents. True leadership, when I think of George Washington or John Adams or I think of Lincoln, I think of how they pardoned individuals from Frey's Rebellion. I think about how Lincoln approached the Civil War, not with vengeance and not with excessive punishment, but with leniency. And if I was in charge of an empire the size of ours, I would recognize that our justice system, the justice system we have, as I said, is a beautiful thing, but it's also delicate. And so I would never want this to happen to my enemies. And if you're an American, you should never want to see a point in our history, which I feel like we're at now, where a third of the population is happy with stabbing another third of the population in the back. I don't want to live in a country where people think it's cool to snitch on people who love them. I don't think it's cool to snitch on your neighbor. I don't think it's cool to turn in your family members. I don't think it's cool to turn in your coworkers. We're at that point, and that's a horrible precedent. And I just, I don't want to get on the soapbox, but I think that that's really something that everybody should recognize. We were in I told you the guy with the gun, Guy Reffitt, he was turned in by his son. His son turned him into the feds.
Wow.
There's a guy
and has now made a boatload off of a GoFundMe.
He's starting a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Pete Schwartz. I just got a call from him. He's got a 14-year sentence because there was a dude in there named Brian Mock. He was a rat. And he wrote a 40-page motion on the dude, but that dude got 30 months. Pete got 14 years because he fought the dude that was ratting on him. But even before that, he was turned in by his coworker, a guy he drove to work every day. It's like it's fucked up. It's not all right. It's not cool. And so, like, J6 aside, like, we were locked up even before that. Everybody knows what about BLM or Antifa, and I don't like whataboutisms because that's not a good argument, but it's worth saying. Like, they didn't do this to BLM, they didn't do it to Antifa, but even when we were locked up, there were fucking environmental douchebags, environmentalists who were ramming cops in D.C. We're in the gulag. They're taking bike racks and ramming cops with them. They get tickets. And sorry, but like it's got to be across the board. You can't do this to Trump supporters and then everybody else gets a slap on the wrist. That's not justice, and that's going to turn this country not into a republic but into an absolute despotism. And that's my warning to the country.
Is there like another incident?
I think that was so poetically said. Go ahead.
Is there another incident where like they just like demonize a certain group? You know what I mean? Like where they obviously went after you guys, right? This whole, because more of a political thing. I mean, I guess didn't look good visually. You guys storming the Capitol and the way they depicted it and described it and all this. But I mean, is there another situation in our history where they're going, like our Department of Justice, I guess, is going after a certain group like this?
Not on a roundup level of this
right.
capacity.
Yeah.
Not with the amount of resources that they took from.
Like they're really
real
trying to
investigations.
they're trying to make a precedence, right?
It was a roundup.
Yeah.
It was a fucking roundup,
It was an inquisition.
Yeah. It's one of those things, man.
The statement is sort of "Don't rise up, or we will beat you down."
Well, that's
Right,
what they tried to say. Yeah. Well, they put fear. I mean, people were afraid to like write me. People were afraid to like, even
stand for
socialize.
something, or you stand for nothing,
or you fall for anything.
Yep.
I'm still standing.
Yeah.
That's my shit. I'm willing to die for my beliefs, and that's how I'll always be.
There's always a hill somebody is willing to die on. There's been a couple. I think COVID was one for us. We were not buying into that bullshit no matter what.
Right.
I would have lost my job for that.
Sure.
I don't want to look around the room too hard with my eyes here, but there's some people in here that also would have lost their job.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are hills to die on, and you guys are the poster child for that for sure.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting what happens here, and I think there will be swift justice.
So has anybody written a book about this yet?
Yes. So I finished. I just finished my book. It's called Reforged. I'm literally just getting ready to shoot the cover.
Awesome.
Yeah, the cover photo for it. It's it digs deep into just other things. It talks about. I find it something that everybody can relate to. First of all, it talks about my cancer. I'm sure we all know somebody that's battled or is battling cancer. It talks about tragic loss of a loved one, losing my father in a tragic motorcycle accident on Mother's Day, 2012. It talks a little bit about my my fighting career. It talks about January 6th. It talks about prison, but it also talks about my relationship with Christ. So it touches on a little bit of everything. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to have a book signing coming out end of March for that. Got some big news developing. I really don't want to just get the evil eye on me too much, but in talks about doing a pretty wild documentary as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Oh yeah,
we're getting there. It'll all come back tenfold.
Wow. Tim, how about you?
Well, I'd like to officially declare my candidacy for nothing.
You want to do 5 minutes of stand up right now?
No. I'm already in trouble. So, I decided today, like I just posted this on my X. I've been talking to a bunch of guys today that we were locked up with like pretty much all day, and so I put like a concept cover out for a book. It's going to be called Artifice and Betrayal, and it's going to be a multi-volume history of the DC jail specifically. So it's going to be about the gulag and stuff like this. I'm like anal retentive autistic about saving everything, and so like you can ask anybody. Like my cell like I'm a slob, but my cell was a mess because I saved everything, and I've got hundreds of pages of documents and grievance forms and all kinds of stuff, and I've always been influenced by like there were other guys, and it was very hard to get books when you were in jail, and thank God when I went to prison I could finally read nonstop, because that's how I got through prison. Is like I'm a vampire, so like I told you I've been up for like 30 hours. I would stay up all night and just reading, and then just that was my thing. You need like a routine to get through like that, because prison is monotonous. So like, but anyway, when I was in jail, like there were a couple like really good books that were like classics. You had Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago. You had Gibbon's and the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, and I love multi-volume histories, and so I've decided that I'm going to write a history, and anybody that was there with me is welcome to contribute. And I want to give everybody, because like you said, like a lot of the evidence was withheld. I want to tell the story of what actually happened on January 6th, put the evidence there, and I also want people to know every single civil rights violation that we endured for years. And I want every single year in there to be a fucking volume of a book. And I want to make sure that we're the ones, like I said, who are going to be we're going to be the ones writing the history. The judges, the prosecutors, and the media, they're going to be footnotes. We're going to be the authors. And so that's something I've decided to do.
Just in our lifetimes, Frankie and I have had conversations about this. Just in our lifetime, and I can imagine what our children are going to experience. I mean, the story of, we'll just pick one, Christopher Columbus, for example, has drastically changed since I was a kid. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, he was a hero. You read history books today, not so much of a hero, So I see what you're saying. I see your point there, and Godspeed with writing that, and I'm sure it'll be amazing. You as well, Scott. So
Thanks, brother.
thank you, boys, for coming in and spending time and telling us a story. If people would like to follow you, keep up with your story, see you want to shout out your social medias or
Twitter, X. What is it called now? X.
Yeah.
I call it Twitter.
I'm fucking cool. I'm cool, bro. Scott Fairlamb J6 on X, and then what's the other one? Instagram, just Scott Fairlamb.
Okay.
Yeah,
You got a
that's
link
all.
for your book, or do you have a website for that?
Not yet. But that's gonna be. It'll be in Barnes and Nobles, Amazon.
certainly can come back on, Scott, when you're ready for your launch.
You know, I'll bring some down too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll get it going.
Like a nice little coffee table reader.
Yes.
I don't read, but
I'll read it to you.
You got to do the. Hey, honestly,
pretty picture on the
can I
cover.
tell you what? What are they calling when you narrate the book?
Yeah.
Bro, you got a voice.
Yeah.
You got a voice.
Do one of
for
those?
it.
Yeah.
You got a fucking voice.
I was
for
thinking
it, bro.
about doing that. The only problem is I'd have
You
to
know?
change some shit around because I have it in the book is being written in third person because I didn't want to be in like I fucking
Right,
me,
right.
you know?
But you can still narrate it.
That's what I-
you still
yeah,
narrate
yeah,
it in the third
yeah.
person. And your voice, bro, you can kill it. Oh yeah.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah.
And then he ate the fucking burrito.
Oh, that's
yeah. What was that?
Oh
back
my
up,
God,
wait,
that's a
back up.
fucking good one.
So when you guys, I was trying to, I know you guys haven't seen each other in a while. I was trying to do my best to kind of like have the big re-night down here, reunion down here. But you guys got out of the trucks together outside. You saw each other, and that was the first thing out of your mouth. What is that? What does that mean?
I saw you.
Yeah, so
eat
it was one of the
whole
funniest
fucking
things that
burrito.
happened to me, like throughout my whole like bid was like, and it was like within like the first week of me being in Hudson County, and they didn't know where to put me with COVID and me having cancer, so they put me down in the fucking mental unit, right? So I'm like in the glass, like Lecter, you know what I mean? I'm fucking turtle suited up in the green Velcro, And this dude's on 24-hour watch, and he's like across the way, and he's finger painting with his shit all day long. And,
Oh my God.
yeah, and they, he's on 24-hour watch, so they're, they got the chair turned around, watching him, and so I mean, every other day it's something with this guy, right? So there's this one guard, he's like a little portly looking fucking guard, who always talking numbers. Yeah, you the fucking Mets, he's one of them guys, just annoying as shit. Yeah. And a real dick. Well, he was watching this dude who's obviously mentally fucked, and he came over to sit down and like be part of the next shift watching him, and he was like, the crazy motherfucker who's been sitting there tapping the glass with his head for the last 6 hours, blood just coming down mixed with shit. He's like, "You fat fuck," he says to him, right? And he's like,
he says it, talking to the.
He's saying to the guard right in front of his cell because they got the air holes, and the plexiglass and shit. You can hear him.
Right.
And he's like, "I just watched you eat a whole fucking burrito." Bro, I was like, "Is this what this is going to be all be about, man?"
Sounds
I was
like
like, "This
something out of
is
Silence
this is
of the Lambs.
fucking nuts."
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh yeah. Just yeah. And I
Eat
was
your
like,
brain with guava beans.
yeah, fava beans and a nice Chianti. But it was like, I was like, did this shit just happen? It was yeah. So that was just
That's
one of the
insane.
many funny. Not so much fun. Yeah, it was funny. I guess I don't know. You had to find it.
Humor and madness.
Yeah, right.
Tim, I don't want to leave you out. You got a book website? You got a social media presence that you want to let people know about? Or
Yeah, I mean,
you
just for
wanna-
now, I'm on X. You can find me at Tim Hale, criminally funny J6er, or I'm a snob, so like I made my actual handle Louis of Monmouth. Just type in Tim Hale, you'll find me.
Okay.
PatriotFreedomProject.com. I'm hoping this is the last year that we're going to need to worry about this.
Right.
But as it
People
stands,
are coming home, so
anybody who wants to contribute, hopefully, again, this is going to end next month, but there is still one more month of this, and even then, there are families who are still recovering from all the bullshit.
Long term shit with that.
Yeah. So.
But shout out to Patriot Freedom Project and Cynthia Hughes. Just awesome.
I've
Everything
spoken-
she's done. It's directed me directly.
Yeah.
With her, they were able to help provide me with an appeal lawyer. It didn't go my way, obviously, but they they were there for me, man. When a lot of people weren't. So shout out to them and thank you.
I've spoken to Cynthia, about the Freedom Project, but she's just, I mean, it's part of her nature to want to help people because she's coming out with a new project now. She was telling me about that is not related, and I mean, she's really just a tremendous human being. I mean, truly. So.
I mean, she's a saint. She's a Catholic housewife. Like she didn't do any of this before J6. There, and there are a lot of people who've helped, but. I'm thankful for Scott because Scott's one of the few people who would acknowledge he got help. A lot of people are not, I'm going to say they're not honest, but I appreciate that he's grateful, and I'm grateful for Scott. And I think one of the last things that I said to Scott, I think right before he left the jail, was he was always the same man behind your back that he was to your front. And Scott's a good dude. I'm grateful for being in jail with him. And I want more stories like Scott's to be told. So I look forward to that.
Thanks, brother. Right on, man. Right on, and right back at you, man. It was tough time.
Looking forward to both you guys' books. I mean, I don't read a lot, but I'll read yours. So yeah,
there will be pictures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scratch and sniff.
Yeah. The pop up. I'll get scare myself. Oh, scared me. All right, gentlemen. Thank you
guys,
so
thanks,
much,
man. It's
coming on,
sharing your stories.
So much appreciate it. It's a very personal part of your life, and I'm sure it's.
And honestly, it's the truth. Like, the more you guys get out, the more normal people. Because I mean, dude, most people think you guys are fucking, the scum of the earth. You know what I mean? The picture that these people have been painting all these years, and they come see your normal people.
Yeah.
You know?
In time, truth always comes out in the end, man. God's timing is always perfect. One day at a time, we keep peeling back layers of the onion, and ultimately they'll be exposed.
So the wheels of justice are slow, but the wheels of tyranny always come to a halt. Thank you for having me, and you guys keep in touch with yourselves, all right?
Hey, we finally got a fucking joke.
Right at the end. Slid it in. Gentlemen, thank you.
All right, boys.
Right on.
What's up, guys? Make sure you follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. You can find the links in the description below. And if you've enjoyed this episode, hit that like button and share it with a friend. Your support keeps us growing.